Hello, everybody. Sorry about that mic mishap there. How is everybody doing today? Got a really cool show lined up for you. Got my friend Robert Scott, longtime friend and music collaborator. We haven't worked on anything recently, but we've done loads in the past. And I went to high school with him. So that's going to be a really cool show today with Rob. But before I get Rob on, I thought it would be cool to chat a bit about the song I have coming out this Friday and also play it for you live because I haven't played one for a while. And first of all, thanks to everybody who tuned in last time to see myself and James Aston. And thanks to James for tuning in prior to coming on the show and then deciding to join us. It was really great. And so want to know what's going on with all of you guys. I am live here, so I will check the comments a bit later. And I'm sure that Rob will be looking for feedback as well on some of the stuff that he's going to be showing you later. So this week's song is called what's it called? Keeper of the Flame. That's what it's called. And it's part of this Songs of New Beginnings series of songs, and it was written about the idea of, somebody who keeps a flame alive, somebody's watching the fire and making sure it doesn't go out. And it could apply to anyone or anything, particularly. It could be a passion that keeps you going or something like that. But for me, it was, it took more and more the form of Amy, who is my wife. And I wrote the song essentially about anyone really who carries the torch when you're feeling too weak to. It could be the torch of your own dream, so that sounds horrendously cheesy, but it could be somebody who sees the better side of you, even when you're not seeing it. And they expect you to be the best you, so it kind of keeps you in check in that way. So the song was written about Amy. And also written about that concept, and in the song Amy was that fulfilled that role as she does in my life. So here is the cover as well. I've got a cover, so you'll see this on Spotify and elsewhere, just so you know what to look out for. There it is. So this is the album cover, or the single cover for this week's song, Keeper of the Flame, out on Friday. I found that feather along a trail path where I go running, and I thought it was pretty appropriate for the song. It's a few lines in the song particularly that really, I thought that feather represented quite well. And for those just listening, that's a feather it's a grey feather with a bit of blue in it. So I originally found this one. And then along the same canal path, I found this one here, which is the one pictured on the cover. It's very, very small. I mean, look how small it is compared to the digit of my hand. But I just thought this was very, very, very cool. And very DIY album cover that, because it's just this coaster that I've just flipped upside down. Just put one of these. Handwritten text with a feather, and then took a photo, and it turned out quite well. So I'll show you again. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that, and I look forward to you checking it out on Friday. I will make sure to put a link in the YouTube description so that you can click on that after the show, or I will type it in the chat at the end of the show. Yeah, so I'm going to play you that song live, and then we're going to get my dear friend Robert Scott on the show after that. So give me a second. I'm just going to get my guitar and change mics. Hey, different mic. So you can hear me there? Yes, you can. So this is a different mic. This is what's called a condenser mic, which is a bit more sensitive. So if you hear dogs barking and cars driving past, that's why. Here goes. Hope you enjoy the song. And take these off, don't you? She is the keeper of the flame, who lets it breathe while it is still contained, who lets it rage and lets it gust in vain. She feeds the embers back to life again. She feeds the embers back to life again. She is the keeper of the flame, the one who bears the load of all my shame, and carries it as if it weighed the same as a blossom in the wind on summer days. A blossom in the wind on summer days. She is the keeper of the flame, the one who carries it to light the way. And when I'm looking for an unknown place, she leads me out the desert to a lake. She leads me out the desert to a lake. She is the keeper of the flame, who sees my sky is blue when it's still grey, who sees my life is new when in decay. She has the grace to lessen my dismay. She has the grace to lessen my dismay. She is the keeper of the flame, who lets it breathe while it is still contained, who lets it rage and lets it gust in vain. She feeds the embers back to life again. She feeds the embers back to life again. Thank you very much. That was Keeper of the Flame, and it is out on Friday on all major platforms like Spotify and Google Music and all that stuff. Give me 1 1 second here. I'm gonna mic problems. 1 sec. There we go. So, whoa. Mic stand malfunction. That's fine. Okay, I am back. So that was Keep of the Flame, and it is out on Friday. And I hope you check it out. And I have submitted it for Spotify playlists. They're really hard to get onto, but if you can, what they call pre-save the link, that apparently helps you get on the playlist. So I will make sure at the end of this to post the link. So now we have the one, the only Rob Scott. I'm just going to check if he is here.
Hello, hello.
There he is.
You got me in your ears?
I have got you in my ears. I'm just going to turn you up a bit.
Hey, Chris, and hey, everyone that's watching, friends and family, near and far.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing?
Welcome to the Willow live streaming, Rob. You're like, how's everyone doing? And then you wait like 45 seconds and then the comments come in.
Yeah.
So Rob has agreed to do the show with me, which is very kind of him. And how do we know each other, Rob?
Sure. High school, I guess. Way back when you were always into music, always playing guitar, always walking around the school with a guitar. And me also playing guitar, I guess we just naturally gravitated together.
Yeah.
And some similar passions, and yeah. It's been a long road since then, but
I think I got then we reconnected after school, and I got quite excited because most guys, and this is not a criticism to anyone who does it, of course, but you know, a lot of people are into music at school, and then people find their own way, and they get into other stuff, and they go to university if they do that, and they get into other passions. But Rob, actually, you didn't study music at a university or anything like that, but you did way more music than anyone, really. So it was exciting because it was like I found somebody that's like made it through. I didn't give up and was just making loads of music, which is exciting.
I guess trying to keep the passion alive, and still to this day trying to keep it alive. Spending as much time as possible, focusing on getting better at the craft, playing, performing, recording, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Some time periods it's easier than others, and sometimes periods harder, but
it's interesting with you because you're one of those guys who, like, often when I'll say something, you'll be like, yeah, I must be difficult for you because, I'm not trying to do it professionally or anything. You've said that sort of phrase quite often. Meanwhile, like you do as well as any professional. I know. Like your music career is epic.
Probably not in financial terms.
No, of course. Of course. But
I wouldn't be living on the street by now, I think, if financial terms were the main factor.
Yeah,
so that's a whole nother discussion.
For sure. So for those listening who don't know Rob is what do you say, a guitarist? Mainly? Not really. Nowadays we all do everything.
Guitar. Yeah, if you want me to play in a band, I'd jump on bass first rather than guitar nowadays. Okay. Just because I find it more fun, more interesting, especially if it's groove-based music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy that more so than guitar. Guitar, I find sometimes that you're just putting the little flourishes on top and you don't have much of a say in the shape of the song, if that makes any sense. You're just adding to what's already there, and if what's already there is good, then it's great. But if what's already there isn't quite the direction that you'd like it to go, and it's nice to be able to change that.
Yeah, with the bass you can make more difference, I guess, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
You can
pull things in certain
You can
directions.
make boring chords sound dangerous if you play the wrong notes.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Never by mistake, though.
Yeah, exactly. Rob's an epic bass player. The gig that I played with you, I think the only gig I played with you where you were on bass was that Ob's house party gig.
Okay.
Do you remember that one?
Sure, bringing back memories now.
I played guitar and you played bass. And the concept of this band, for everyone listening, was it's an amazing concept. It's like, we don't play songs, we don't rehearse, we don't even, like, I noticed, like, because it was like, basically, the bass player or something couldn't make it. I think maybe it was Daniel or something. So you were going to jump on bass, and then you normally play guitar. So then I had to fill in. But
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, what songs we're going to play, guys? And they're like, well, we don't really do that. And
Yeah, the whole concept is, I guess, playing improvised music.
Yeah.
But sticking to some sort of energy that's, I guess, appropriate at a house party, like stuff that'll make you dance, or, you know, groovy sort of stuff.
Can't remember.
Also going a bit dark at times, but
I can't remember who it was who said it, but at some point, like, I was trying to even discuss before, like, you know, like vague principles, and like the conversation got shut down.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we don't talk about it. What will be will be.
Yeah. We're not looking for an ideological approach here. We're just looking for bring what you bring, and yeah.
It was an amazing gig, actually, because I actually had some feedback afterwards where it was like, where it came out that I was filling in, but it's a weird thing because you're not filling in the sense that you had to learn anything. But I think some because it's happening new on the spot. But I think some people, like, you know, thought, wow, like you no one would have known, Chris. It's like you knew the songs. Like, they don't get the point. No one knows the songs.
Yeah,
there are no songs.
There is a recording of this band up. There's a zip you can download from my website if anyone's interested.
Oh, that's cool. I'm interested.
Yeah, so we compiled some of the better sections, because we also used to record everything, all the gigs and all the rehearsals and that sort of thing, and we cut out some of the sections we liked the best, and
cool.
Yeah, compiled it together.
If anyone's listening who knows Rob's website, robsco.info, just put in the chat, some of your family maybe. And so Rob and I go way back and reconnected when I was in the UK over internet, you know, beats and rhymes.
Yeah.
And then did loads of stuff with my my old Persona project. And I haven't done much for a while, but I did do a little bit of mixing and stuff for one of Rob's pieces with his band, Chilled Vibes, which I'm sure we'll cover at some point. Maybe we get both of you guys on.
Probably the highlight, what I'm thinking of the highlight of us working together is probably the Lawnmower EP. Well, it is for me at least. That's probably the most solid set of songs and sort of a bit more collaboration than some of the other stuff we've worked on, which was sort of like either your songs or my songs, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So the Lawnmower EP, you can listen on Spotify. Artist name, Chris Cape. A previous incarnation of myself. And and I remember the session where we actually did Lawnmower was crazy. it was like really late at night, and it was just a lot of weird sounds that ended up.
Yeah, sort of when you're in that zone of sleep deprivation, when you start sort of, you know, you're not on drugs, but it feels like you're in that zone, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we took that feeling and ran with it, I guess.
Well, I think we'll do a full session at some point where we do like a retrospective, maybe have you on as a guest another time, and go through all of the.
But let's chat about your current stuff. Beautiful track.
And your stuff.
And
okay, well, fine. We'll do this song and then we'll do your stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the performance now, and you've given me the sneak peek that I've been listening to over the last few days.
Thanks, man. I hope you didn't listen to it too many times. It's quite don't want to put you in too much of a melancholy state.
Yeah, well, that's what.
It's not a jam. It's not. This is my jam.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
It's interesting that it is slow and in some ways somber, but the content is. I mean, you described it nicely before you played it, and I was wondering if my interpretation was along the same lines as that, and yeah, it turns out that it was. But yeah, I found it like a beautiful homage to someone in your life. Well, I saw it as a specific someone, but you mentioned also yourself potentially, but there's someone in your life that leads you through things, that tough times, and helps you become a better self, and all those things that you've already mentioned at the beginning.
Definitely.
What I wanted to know was, for this song, when you're recording it, are you recording both the parts together like a performance, or are you splitting it up? And I'm wondering like how you approach trying to put as much of that feeling into the track as possible, if you get what I'm saying.
For sure. So this was one of the more challenging ones of this batch of songs to do, because it's really free in the time, and there's no like strict meter. So and it pushes and pulls. So I tried various things, but I only had so the recording technique I was wanting to use was 2 microphones on the guitar and 1 microphone for the voice. But I only had the capability at the time. I've since upgraded, so maybe the next album will be different. But I only had the capability to record 2 things at once. So I could either record 1 mic on the guitar and 1 mic on the voice, or do it separately and do the guitar with 2 mics and then go over it with a voice with another mic. So this was quite a difficult one because I wanted it to be free time. I couldn't record it to a click and then just sing along. So what I did, it was like a multi-phased recording. So what I did is I first sat down with 1 mic and played a performance, vocal and guitar, but with the vocal very quiet, just there for timing. Then I went and played over that with the two mics on the guitar, with that as my guide. So I kind of made a grid out of this live performance. And then I could get the guitar with the 2 mics from that. So it's quite weird because then I had to sing on top of this thing that was moving backwards and forwards I had to remember almost the original performance that I'd done of it. So it's like a weird recreation of a live performance.
Right, you like learned the timing of what you'd done originally, and it's interesting.
But also sometimes it wasn't that tight and that almost makes it cooler, because like when I was playing it today, practicing it to perform it now, I was playing it, and I might go listen back to this and be like, oh no, I was doing it again. I was playing it too tight, because I'm now playing it together. And when there was the separation, it was almost like 2 free elements that like sometimes are in time and sometimes not quite in time. And but it's I actually recorded it twice, the final guitar parts, because it was raining on the first time. So there's a lot of rain on the roof. And it was the same day that I recorded last week's or 2 weeks ago's song, Making the Incarnation Clear. And if you listen carefully on that, you can hear rain. But I had the idea that song was like a rainy song, and this song was a dry desert song.
Okay.
It was like orangey colors and desert and fire, and so that's maybe a bit over the top, thinking that somebody's going to hear the rain and it's going to invoke a more wet feeling. So I actually re-recorded it just in case to get rid of the rain.
So the version that we're hearing is that re-recording?
Yeah, so that's got no rain on it. I recorded on a different day when it's dry. But the whole recording was a nightmare in terms of the technical. There was like building happening, and there was like gardening happening outside, and vehicle reversing sort of thing.
Sure, well, you never would tell listening to it. It sounds cohesive.
No, thanks.
Yeah. The other thing I was wondering about this track in particular was the concept an idea you've had bouncing around for a while, or because what I'm getting at is that I know we've spoken before about how the record was put together pretty quickly, but I was wondering if the songs were also put together really quickly, or if the songs you had bouncing around and it was more just the process of compiling it that
the songs weren't
was the thing that needed to be rushed.
Yeah, good question. Thanks. The songs were collected over about a year on phone memo recordings. and then when I decided to start recording them in a rush, I went through all of these memos. So I write in phases, as I'm sure I've spoken about on this before, where like I'll get the blueprint done, and then I'll leave it until I have to finish it. And then when I have to finish it, then I go through and agonize over the exact lyrics and stuff. And that was the case with this. But I had the idea for a long time. I actually heard this is giving away the freshness of the idea, but I'll be honest. I heard the phrase "Keeper of the Flame" on a Leonard Cohen live concert, some video clip. It's not in a song of his or anything, but he referred to one of his backing vocalists, Sharon Robinson, as the keeper of the flame. And there was a period, I think maybe in the 90s or maybe the early 2000s, around then, that she co-wrote with him and did a lot of production and stuff. So I think that she gave his career like another burst of energy, like I think her enthusiasm. So I took it to mean that. I took it to mean, somebody who believed in what he had to give, even if this is completely folkloric in my own head. There's no evidence for any of this, but I just played around with this idea that maybe he was feeling a bit washed up, the genius himself, but he's obviously not. And maybe somebody every now and then, I'm sure lots of artists have that. They need a producer or just a friend or someone to be like, you really got some good stuff. Let's do more. The man himself.
Yeah, I can see how you got from there to however much that ended up shaping the song.
Yeah.
But
often it'll be like that. I'll have just
nice.
one little idea that takes shape, and then it just falls out into the song. But I first play with it. But I don't claim to. I think the skill of the writing is about how to capture it from here. But I don't know that songwriters by effort generate these cool ideas. It's almost learning, like they're just passing through the air all the time. And then you hear it, and then you sit with it for long enough until it turns into a song.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes you feel almost lucky for having caught that as it was coming by, being able to latch onto it. And
And sometimes you hear somebody else's song, and you're just like, they are so lucky. But I love it because it's kind of like, it's not luck. It's no different that they had it or that somebody else had it. I'm just glad the world has it. So it's almost like there's these set number of floating bits of inspiration in the air, and it's like, the people who are willing, sitting there waiting for it, one of them will get it.
Right.
That's how I see it. So I just hope I sometimes get one of those, and if not, oh well. I'm glad if somebody else does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. But what about you, man? What you've been working on recently? You said you had a session the other day.
Got back in the studio with the South African singer Lura, and she's working on a new album. I was playing guitar for her. We did like 2 days in the studio, some playing along with a live band and then doing some extra parts. It was fun. I hadn't been back in a while, obviously, because COVID. But
yeah, I know.
But it was good. It was good to play with some musicians again live, and it'd been a while.
Oh man.
Yeah, and aside from that, working on some stuff that I guess we're going to take a look at today.
Oh yes.
Some sort of software projects, and of course, there's always my band with Fabio, Chilled Vibes, that's going slowly but surely. We've been working on an album for the last number of years, and we plan on getting some tracks out soon, basically. Well, we've released one already, and there's a few more that are at the top stages of the pipeline.
Is What Am I Doing? Is that one of them?
Yes, yeah, that's the one.
Doing.
Yeah.
And is that one that I heard and got to work on a little bit on there?
Yeah, The Mind. So
yeah.
it's
very cool,
should be the
everybody
next release.
who's listening. It's very cool.
Yeah, we got Chris to help us on the vocal production. So that's sort of like making the vocals work as well as possible within the context of the song.
But
like,
he's got a great voice.
Affecting them.
So this is Fabio. You guys started out as like a guitar instrumental duo, and it's just grown and grown and grown into whatever it's going to be on the next album.
Yeah. There's some vocals this time around.
Yeah, man.
We're taking a giant leap into unknown waters.
I'm sure
that loads of people have already been in for many years.
Exactly. It's like, what if we had songs with vocals?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
we always used to joke because inevitably after almost every single gig, we'd have at least one person come up to us and say, "Why didn't you get a singer?" And we're like,
you were like these crazy people.
Yes, we know this. We've designed it like this. maybe it's not what necessarily you want to hear, or maybe it's not even good. Who knows? But that's the way it is.
Exactly. That's the problem with instrumental bands. They don't have singers.
Yeah.
No, but it's you do wonder. But and you're also playing in some. Do you still play? You played for the Kiffness and the City. And those.
Yeah. So the Kiffness, I haven't played with him in years. But I see he's still doing his thing. Seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
The City has evolved into Bonja's solo project.
Okay.
So she is the singer of the City, is, and now her solo project is going strong. So you can find her easily online. She's got a bunch of singles out. Yeah, also beautiful music.
Is it still called the City?
No, it's now under her. It's not really the same entity, but I see it as the evolution of that into her solo project. Yeah.
Cool, man.
I think there's some overlap in the songs, but yeah.
Cool. And so Rob also does software stuff, which is handy because every time I've got, so I am very into writing songs and playing guitar and recording them and stuff. And every now and then I'll have like a really, really niche, intense digital question. Like, what happens if I convert this file to this? Like, will I lose quality or will this? And Rob's always like, I don't know, whatever. Even
let me Google it for you.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, Rob is the he's never agreed to be, but he's basically my tech guru. Like James last week is like, with James it's like, if I want to talk to anybody about holding a guitar plectrum, I call James. And computer stuff is Rob. And yeah, so I can show. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to show on your computer stuff?
Let me pull up the list quickly. So we got a few things. So the first thing that we can show is I've developed a set of audio plugins, and an audio plugin for people not in the know is, so I guess back in the day you would have sort of a hardware unit in a studio, and this thing would sit on a rack. Well, it still happens today. People have them, people richer than me, but they have these hardware units, and you can effectively put sound through it, and it comes out sounding a bit different. Right? Yeah. Some sort of effect, sometimes a delay, sometimes a reverb, sometimes distortion, that sort of thing. So audio plugin is a digital version of that concept, where you send a signal in and you get something out that's different. And the three that I've got to show today are a distortion plugin, a bit crushing plugin, and a valve saturation plugin. So these, go for it.
Just got a little guitar amp here. So just to show, like back in the day, I mean, this is a very small guitar amp, but back in the day, in order to get like rock sounds, distortion, you would have to play this thing as loud as it can go and louder than it wants to go. Feel free to correct me, Rob. But basically, you break this thing. So you don't break it, but you overdrive it is the term. So you push the bit that sends the volume into the speaker pushes harder than this thing can take. So it stops producing a clean sound and it starts to go. and
Yeah.
make a rock
I guess
sound.
it's designed for a certain range of input, and you're sending something in that's outside of that range, so it does unexpected things. But then people started liking that sound and wanting to recreate it, on the fly,
And
I
what's
guess.
happened with the digital world, and I'm sure people probably find this sacrilegious that you've done what you've done in a way, because I guess that, like the guitar amp there has noise, old mixing desks and stuff would have noise, and if you play too loud into them or you play drums, they might distort a little bit, and each little audio unit, there was just a lot more hardware, wasn't there, in the day? Back in the day, you'd have to have a thing to power the microphone, to have this, to have that. And then if everything gets overloaded, each thing flavors the sound a bit. And I guess what's happened with digital, but I don't think that, I think a lot of studio guys were trying to achieve a clean sound and trying to get rid of all that. But then it got with digital, it became so clean that some people say it sounds fake, or it sounds sterile is the word. So if you record a song on your laptop, for some people it's like, oh, it sounds too clean, which is crazy, because we've seemed to have perfected clean now. So people like yourself or software companies will create these applications to make it sound like an old piece of gear that's getting broken.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess before computers, your only option was the analog world, and the analog world comes with imperfections. That's sort of like the short answer of it. And this part of what I see it being is, you have this whole catalog of recorded music that was all done in the analog domain, and people grew up with this, and obviously there's amazing tunes from every era of recorded music, but that sort of sound has stuck with people, I think, is part of it. And then you're trying to recreate that, and like you're saying, in a digital world where everything is pristine. But maybe let's get into what I've done.
Sure.
So I don't claim to try and emulate any fancy equipment and that sort of thing. That's
what's the
like,
principle you're looking at?
Yeah.
So which one do you want to look at first?
The distortion one.
Do you want to look at the code, or do you want to just play the video first?
You can play the video, but I'll explain a little bit beforehand.
Okay, so I'll keep it here. Cool.
So the video it's just a little short demonstration instead of me doing a screen share of how it works. And what I've got here is Chris's track from Lava Kiss called Swordfish. And what I've done is I've just soloed the drums and the percussion of the song. So that's the only thing playing, and I'm demonstrating by twiddling the dials effectively what the distortion sounds like.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can play it.
Here we go. Distort. Okay, so you're making it a bit quiet. Here we go. Ooh. Yo. So you're just showing the different styles now. That's great. It's amazing when it was really distorted. The toms sounded boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it starts sounding almost like a different instrument entirely. Obviously, I'm exaggerating it for effect there, but that's those sort of the milder versions of those sort of sounds I really like and want to bring out in stuff that I'm doing often. So that led me to produce this. And just to be clear, there's nothing new or groundbreaking that I'm doing here. It's just the way that I'm combining knowledge from like research papers and stuff I found online into these different algorithms that distort the sound.
So you could buy a third-party thing that does something similar, that creates distortion stuff, but you have decided to do this because you want to make something just the way you like it. Is that right? Just the exact tool that you want?
So this specific one came out of. So I'm big into open source software, and that's in short terms. That's just software where the source code's publicly available, and anyone with a know-how can read it and learn from it. And depending on the license, they can create their own adaptations and that sort of thing. But so there was an open source plugin that I really liked the distortion sound of, but it was mixed in with a few other things that I wasn't really interested in. So I took that, and that's the lo-fi setting on there. I took out that little element of it because I could review that source code and see what it was doing. And I could, just slap that algorithm in there and put it as one of the toggle switches. And then the way I changed it is the input and output gain and a few little tweaks here.
And those other flavors that it said, so there was like clip or soft something.
Soft clip and hard clip.
All those different things. Did you have to download? Did you find different source code? Did you find different code for each of those, or did you make some of those up, or did you say, I like the soft sound from this one, and I like the other one from this one, and you combine it to make your own plugin?
So the hard clip's a pretty straightforward one. It's sort of just common knowledge. Okay. The short, well, not common knowledge, but
I don't know.
Like you can go on Wikipedia and you'll understand it fairly quickly. But basically, so recorded audio, it gets constructed into a wave.
Yeah.
But you effectively you take a snapshot of a vibration of a wave or a vibration at many, many times per second. And all I'm doing is I'm taking these numbers, and these little snapshots, they range from 1 to -1, if you can imagine a graph going along with your waveform. And so the hard clip, for example, it takes any number that's over 1 and makes it 1, and takes any number that's less than -1 and makes it -1. So the input gain on that plugin can grow the waveform to much greater than that range, but all it will do is just bring back the ones that are out of that range into the 1 and -1.
So everything ends up within that range?
If it's gone over that value. So softer sounds and will have an amplitude less than that.
So is it that you've got a wave here, and then is it like putting a lid on it? And
pretty much
forcing it
and
to stay within it. So if you increase the volume on the input, does this bottom line go up?
Well, increasing the input zooms in the wave. If you can imagine, like pinch zooming in on a photo on your phone. Okay. Yeah, and then all it's doing is it's just cutting off when it hits that 1
so
point.
So if you see a song like this, if you see a song like that, that's like a nice dynamic song. And then essentially it becomes a square, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Ultimately, because it gets so squashed.
Well, a nice smooth curve up until then it flattens off, and then another nice smooth curve coming down. Yeah.
Wow. I play guitar, man.
Yeah.
This is too sciencey for me.
The soft clip is just a softer version of that, so it does some lowering before it reaches the top point.
Cool.
We don't really have to get into the specifics, but the point was that I just wanted, because oftentimes you'll have to pull in like 4 different distortion plugins and then click between them and like, oh, I like that one, but I don't like that one. So the concept I was going for was just I want these 4 that I can easily click between and and see which one I like.
And you're not doing this, I know, but I'm asking for my audience, that you're not doing this for like primarily or at all for any commercial goal. You're not looking to sell your software. You just make it because you want to use it.
No, not these things. No. I'd have to even look into the legalities of selling it based on some of the code that I've used. I mean, I reference it in the source code, but you can't be selling other people's stuff depending on what license they have released it under.
Well, it depends whether they find out or not, I think is what you're trying to say. Cool. Well, do you want to show me another one? And how does this one differ?
Yeah, so the Bit Crusher I built from the ground up, I guess, but also it's not hell of a complicated concepts. So as opposed to having an existing distortion sound that I liked for the distortion one, and then using that in and amongst other things, I took the approach of building this one sort of as like a learning experience as well for myself, because these 3 plugins are also my first triage into learning about digital signal processing, which is a whole world of a lot of maths and stuff that I remember from university, but only vaguely remember looking at lots of Wikipedia pages to figure it out.
Wow.
So it's been a learning process, and it's also been able to help me achieve the sounds that I want to achieve, which has been useful.
I think that's so cool, man. It's like it's the software equivalent of, you know, tweaking your guitar to make it just right, getting the strings that you like and putting the strings as high as you want. You know, just getting your tools assembled.
Yeah, and it's all just knowledge. Like once you've learned about guitar setup, you can set up a guitar better than before you'd learned. You know, that sort of thing. And as you do it more and more, you can.
You'd hope.
Yeah.
Depends how bad.
You'll probably mess it up a few times initially.
So
at least if I mess things up, I can just undo until.
So, Bit Crusher is for crushing bits.
Yeah,
that's what I'd get. So if you want bits crushed, that's what you use.
Yeah, so I won't get into all the details of this one because it can get a bit dry. But the way I like thinking about this one is those old like game consoles, like a Game Boy and that sort of thing.
And stuff.
Yeah, so their sound cards have a certain bit depth that they run at, and they produce sounds that are very characteristic. I'm sure most people can bring those sort of sounds
the famous
to them.
One?
Yes, yeah. Some of them, what gets a bit
like that.
Yeah, chiptune. There's a whole genre of music. Well, there's probably multiple genres of music that use these. Some people even create music from Game Boys, and they'll have a whole array of them, and they record songs into like a recorder from the direct hardware. But that's a whole nother thing. But this thing can take a sound that is pristine, or the sound that hasn't been turned into a Game Boy sounding sound, and turn it into something that sounds Game Boyish. I think that's probably all I need to
so
show.
I instantly regret sending you this. My music to be Game Boyed. No, it's fine. Here we go.
Yeah. Apologies.
Here we go. Sample rate going down. Oh, I hear it there. I can totally hear it. Cool, man. So it's another thing. It's like the studio thing where people had equipment, they just had that equipment, and it may happen to make certain sounds, and then nostalgia kicks in once we've moved past those sounds. Do you think that's what's happened with these Game Boy type sounds? Or do you think they were designed to sound like that from the get-go?
So I think it was mainly due to a limitation of the hardware.
Yeah.
They hadn't. I mean, you got to think about. They probably could have put something better in there, but it would have cost too much to make it prohibitive for people to buy it, like your general consumer. So they ended up going with that. But it's like anything. You work with the tools you have, and no matter what tools you have. I mean, there's some amazing music that's been composed for those games, that within those limitations, and it's just the composers working within those limitations and pushing the boundaries.
I totally believe that is the key for creative stuff. Like so, with this with this album, you know, like that. You asked me about the recording. It's like, you know, the mistake would be to go, well, I don't have a way of recording 3 mics at once, so I'm not going to. You know. Sometimes the magic comes from being forced into a corner. It almost always does. You know that I know film composers do the same. I went to a masterclass with it. I think his name is Trevor Jones. I hope I get that right. anyway, he wrote like for Mighty Ducks and a lot of those 90s family movies into Dark Crystal and stuff. And he was saying that like each movie he did, he would come up with a strict set of sounds limitations. For this film, I'm allowed to use these 5 instruments or whatever. So it's
right.
It gives.
I remember
it the
you
flavor.
mentioning for your Lava Kiss stuff, you also took somewhat of that approach.
Yeah.
Whereas you decided like the color palette, as it were, of what you wanted to.
It's a classic. So now it's like the Game Boy could have a great sound. Great, inverted commas, but you realize its limitations made it sound cool. And also, why that sample rate thing? So you had the bit thing and the sample rate thing.
Yeah.
The sample rate, I always thought that the bit thing, that bit depth was what made it sound like that. And the sample rate, you'd never want a bad one. Because, MP3s.
Yeah, so that's where it gets complicated. Like, you can't really call a Game Boy 8-bit, so it doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. I can't remember the specifics off the top of my head now, but yeah, so maybe if I just explain what the sample rate's doing. So the Game Boy has a limitation of sample rate and bit depth.
Okay.
So that's what gives it its flavor.
It's the combination.
So, yes, yeah. It's sort of the short of it from what I remember.
Okay, cool.
But so sample rate here is what I was talking about, where you take a slice so many times per second.
Yeah.
So that number is simply just the number of times per second you are taking a snapshot of what it is. You can think of it as video. So videos have a different
frame rate.
Yeah, frame rate. So you got on YouTube, they have a 60 frames per second video that's a lot smoother than a 24 frames,
Yeah.
And the whole thing about how people don't like movies in higher than 24 frames. But that's getting into a whole other domain. So this is simply just artificially constraining that amount of times we capture information every second from the audio. So as you bring it down more and more, you get less and less accurate representation of what was there, and it makes it sound pretty interesting to me.
And I totally get, like, looking at this, why you would do this. Not this particular plugin, but I'm just saying all these plugins, they're so utilitarian. Just like you can get any number instantly. It's not like a few manufacturer presets that they've made for you. So very cool. Do you want to show me the next one? You sent me another one.
Yeah, so the final one of the audio plugins it's a valve saturation plugin. So this is sort of in the similar vein as the distortion one, in terms of the sound and in terms of the approach. So also it's something where I found an open source plugin where I liked the sound, but it was doing something strange to the audio, and sort of noticed a like minor bug in the code. So I took it and ran with it. Also a learning experience for me, because I wanted to figure out what goes into trying to emulate a valve. So
and for people
that don't know,
sorry,
yeah.
You go.
A valve's effectively, it's an analog piece of gear, so it exists in the physical world, and you run current through it, and it produces it's similar to the amp, where if you put too much current through it, it starts producing
distortion.
Yeah, like distorted sort of sounds, I guess. Maybe you got a better explanation.
It looks a bit like a light bulb. It's glass, and it's vacuum. Is it like got some sort of a?
Yeah, I think there is a vacuum in there. I don't know a huge amount about them. I just know
I don't know
what they do. And my interest is recreating them digitally. I guess I should probably learn a bit more about them.
It's a big thing in the guitar world. I've never owned a valve amp actually myself. They're much heavier and stuff, but like all the famous guitar amps from back in the day used this valve technology. Most things did. I think radios probably did in your home radios before transistors took over. But
I think they're just more unreliable, and that's why they haven't. I mean, they can degrade over time, whereas I think a transistor will eventually degrade over time.
If you drop your amp or something, it can break the valve. So for touring and stuff, some people don't like them, but
and you have to replace them and all sorts of things. But
so I love all these problems. It's like, so let's make a software thing that can simulate some of those problems. So I'm gonna have a look at it now. So what would you use this for?
So I like this specific sound for smoothing things out. So something that's in the mix that you don't you don't. It's sitting a little bit too much in the forefront, and you want to pull it back a little bit, and sort of that distorting it, and I see it almost as like smudging it out. But in the demonstration, I'm doing it on the entire song. Your entire song, Swordfish, will a part of it, just to show a drastic version of what it does.
So it makes it a bit more cloudy in a sense, you know, a bit
warmer,
more fuzzy, almost like film grain versus digital camera, maybe. I don't know, some sort of a...
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, let's give it a go here. So, Valve. I swam the ocean just to find you. Okay, yeah. You rule my world, all of this green and blue. But you won't give me your heart. So now it's on. Now it's off. I thought this loving thing was all true. So gave you everything. Okay, so here, so now you've got it to like a natural and not crazy point. Cool.
Yeah, so it's a very subtle effect, that one. I mean, at the one point I drag it so it's obvious, but I often use it for a more subtle sort of thing you wouldn't really notice. Yeah. Whereas the bit crushing one, it's like, it's there. You know, you can hear that it's happening.
It's a particular sound.
Yes, yeah.
Cool. And let me just quickly check in with the comments, see if anyone's here. And then we're not just chatting to each other endlessly. So we got thanks everyone for tuning in. We got quite a lot of people here, and Megan Scott says, "So proud of you, Rob." The family love.
Thanks,
that.
Meg.
So
yeah,
So one.
Hope I'm not boring anyone to tears with this deep dive into audio.
I think it's too dry for tears. Audio.
Yeah,
it's just like head scratch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I love is because I know that I'm not the mechanical engineering type, really. I mean, I do it from a creative point of view. But like, so I love it when other people can carry that burden for me. I love having people in my life that are into that sort of stuff. Okay, so the other thing you sent me was your chordal thing.
Yeah, so this has two parts. So this also came out of an idea. So I'd been looking for, well, I was just thinking the one day about improvising. So improvising sort of when you, in musical terms, when you're playing over a set of chords, and you're trying to play something off the top of your head that fits in with your accompaniment, with what you're playing against.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
I've just shown them, by the way, just so you know. I've got the website up here.
So this for me is a tool to help with that in one particular tiny little aspect of this whole domain of improvising.
And improvising is when you just make stuff up, right?
Yeah.
Musically.
So what you've got here is you've got a whole set of chord qualities, and this is where I guess the people with musical training or knowledge will understand what's going on here, and others might not necessarily. But you can construct a chord. If you think about a piano, the set of keys that you're playing on the piano at one time is a chord, basically, and the different ones you have sound different and have different colors and are used in different applications.
And you can choose here. You've made it so I can choose which type of chords are available.
Yeah. So you can think about those sort of as choosing different colors.
I've just chosen major and minor now, by the way.
Yeah. So what all this tool does is it simply plays random chords from the set of chords that you
options
select there.
Of quality.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Of types.
Yeah, exactly. So you could set it just to major, and then it's only going to play you these happy sounding chords the whole time. And the point of this tool is to sort of throw one in the deep end, or at least myself. I'm sure many people can handle this sort of thing, but it's to throw you in some sort of nonsensical deep end in terms of improvising. So you're presented with this random set of chords, and you have to try and wade through them and play something over them that sounds good. It makes coherent sense. That sort of thing.
To put that in non-musical language, it's with music, it's everything is context based. So you could say, so people don't tend to say, I love the G chord, because it doesn't really mean anything. It depends what came before, what comes afterwards. It's all about the context of different things. So what your website program does here is it plays random chords with no context or random context. So it's the same as like trying to read a sentence that has a randomly generated word every next word. or it's like saying, run through this field, and every time you blink, there'll be new obstacles. And then when you blink again, they're new again. And you don't know what they're going to be. So your goal is to stumble your way through it, sounding as unterrible as possible.
Yeah, it's sort of like trying to have a conversation with someone who's just speaks in word salad. They just say random words, and you have to converse with them. And
I can play it.
Well,
Let me show people quick.
Yeah,
So I'm just going to click launch here. So now I've just got major and minor. You see, that sounds completely random. It's gone F minor. Okay, not bad. This one's going to be a bit of an eyebrow. Yeah. So anyone thinking that's a weird song, that's the point. And obviously you can make it faster here. So this is going to be a nightmare. Okay, that's okay. Not so okay. So you can see what the next one is going to be.
Yes, you can also hide it if you want to.
Okay.
If you want to try and approach it by ear. So that's if you were
literally blind. You're just going.
Yeah. And I guess if your musical training and skill is high enough that you can figure out what the interval jump was and to what quality you've jumped to, that sort of thing, to quickly get there.
Stuff is.
I mean, that's. I guess that's the thing about it. You can make it as hard and as silly as you want to, really. But you can also, from a basic perspective, I was thinking about it as a way of. You could use it as like a way of learning your chords. For example, on guitar, playing the open chords, every single one of them is different. Pretty much.
I'm going to try it quickly.
Yeah.
Can you hear this? So I hadn't planned to do this, by the way. So if this is this is terrible. So I'm going to launch it. So I'm going to try and make some sort of musical sense out of something that is by design likely to be unmusical. Correct?
Yeah, you might get lucky, but you never know.
Okay, I get the idea.
Yeah.
Basically, what this is like going to a jam night with a band that really doesn't want you to succeed. So they keep telling you it's this song, and then they change their mind every 5 seconds. But do you know what? That's super cool because you get like an adrenaline rush because you know that you are going to sound pretty terrible at first or whatever. And if you can play through that, you can basically play through anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's some chord qualities missing and things like 2 chords within a bar and some specifics that don't exist. But I mean, you have to put some sort of constraints somewhere.
Sure. And then
yeah,
the next iteration of this thing is when you're going to be able to use it to actually put in a chord progression.
Yeah, so the one which we've been demonstrating is sort of the nonsensical, just
Random.
like training. I see it as just like you're just running laps, you know, like working on your.
And then like a pack of wolves, and then a pit of snakes, and then a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so the next one is a more structured thing where you can actually key in a chord progression. So say you're working on a song and you're trying to come up with lyrics for it, for example, and you've just got 4 chords. You want to. Okay. So the one approach is you can go to your laptop and you can record it on your phone, whatever record you're playing it 20 times or 1 time and looping it.
So that's
or the
quite
other
a
approaches
cumbersome
you could use.
route.
Yeah, or the other approach is you could use a tool like this thing, which is in development, but we've got a video to show you. But effectively, you just key in the chords that you want to play, and then you can hit play and it plays them for you. Cool. And eventually it's going to have all the time signature, tempos, all that sort of stuff.
I'm going to play it for them now, for everybody. So here we go.
Yeah, so this is a chord progression for one of my tunes called Liquidity.
Okay.
That I just used for
demonstration. So he's currently putting in the chords here. So this is what I could do, or anyone once this tool's live. Rob, I'll be back in 1 second. I need a wee.
Yeah, so it just plays through that loop of the chords that you've stuck in there, and allows you to play over them, so you could come up with a melody or practice your improvising, all sorts of things like that. And then eventually I want to build a whole bunch of features, like being able to put 2 chords within 1 bar, and
it's on
all sorts of things.
It has been looping, by the way. So it's
I think I recorded quite a long video, so you can probably cut it by now.
So this is your tune. But the point is that you can make this loop and then jam over it.
Yeah.
Or practice singing.
Yeah.
I actually did it the other day, and I found another tool that was similar, but I think it forced me to have specific styles, which it had too much rhythm or something. So it's it like forced the song to be in a different thing. So I had this got this chord progression of a song I'm working on, which is so I could input these chords into your little machine. And then I could loop it.
Yeah.
And I think why that's useful for me is that if I'm trying to tweak some lyrics or see how they sing, I don't have to play for like 5 hours while I'm trying to get that together. But
and for in earlier stages of one's playing, it's often, for some people, it's hard to sing and play at the same time when you're focused so much on your playing, just the dexterity and all of that. It helps with that regard as well. But again, it's just another sort of tool I've developed to scratch an itch of mine. So the main thing that I want to get at with this one is I want to make it super easy to share the progression. So you could just click like one button, copies a link to your clipboard, and then you paste it to someone on WhatsApp or whatever, and then they can hit play and it plays your chord progression.
It's cool for songwriting with somebody. Say I'm playing around with some ideas over this chord progression. You can mess around with it as well.
This is what I think the bridge could be, that sort of thing.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's tools out there like Band in a Box that tackle some of these problems, and I'm sure there's many others I'm not even aware of, but yeah, there's a specific set of goals I wanted to get out of these
I
things.
think it's so cool that you
That's
get to make. You've got the ability to basically go, I want this thing. I want the ability to have this thing to use it, but you don't need to go buy it. You can make it. And often you're making it because there is nothing to buy. There is not the exact tool that you want, so you get to make it yourself. But
the nice thing about being on the web as well is it works on any device, so you don't need an app. Well, also from development time, you don't need to develop an app and a desktop app. Like I'm not sure, for example, you can get Band in a Box on your phone. They probably have an iPad app.
And you
got
compatibility issues and stuff.
I mean, I could be wrong, but the idea here is that it's meant to be as. So I send you a link and you can play it immediately. You don't need to.
So I'll try and share this with some jazz cats and see they play. And maybe we can do a thing. You can get you on the show, and we can have like a bunch of people doing the random solo challenge.
Trading fours on nonsensical nonsense. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think we're going to wrap it up there-ish. And just say thank you to everyone for watching. And see if, Rob, is there anything you want people to check out? I'm sure I'll have Rob on the show again. I'm sure at some point. Is there anything you want people to check out now?
The only thing would be, I mean, you can check out that improviser tool. It's already there at improviser.com with a Z. So improviser, like the visor. And then the other thing would be the music that's on my website already. So that's just robsco.info/music.
I'm putting it in the chat now. Robsco.
There's a whole bunch of stuff there, but what I would say people can check out first would be, I guess, the stuff we've mentioned. So there's the Chilled Vibes EPs, there's Lawnmower EP, and there's interesting, Ob's House Band's also there, and maybe that's enough for now.
Yeah, man. You've got lots here. I'm just sharing it here. So everyone can check out what I'm sharing in the chat here. This is Rob's stuff. And I'm going to share in the chat as well, everybody. I'm just going to share the pre-save for my song that I played today, Keeper of the Flame. And thanks for asking me all those nice questions about it, Rob. It's,
yeah, it's good to hear it live as well.
It's nice to know. It's nice to. It's much easier having somebody ask you about your own song than asking yourself questions like that. But yeah, man, you're a legend. It's great to have you on. And I think I'm gonna play.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Oh man, there's no problem. Of course, anytime. I'm not going to play the song, actually. I've played it live. Let's leave it there. I thought I was going to play a recording. I was going to play the outro music. But Rob, we'd love to have you back. This is Rob Scott, everybody. He's the greatest.
Yeah, I'd love to be back.
And appreciate all the back and forth over the years and for this call. And yeah, we'll get Rob back, and I'm sure we'll do some cool stuff in the future. I'd like to have you with Fabio to talk about your Chilled Vibe stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool, man. Well, I am looking for my outro music.
Imagine you just set everyone off with the random chords for.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I found the outro music, so we'll be slick now. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. Outro.